from the bid'ah in the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When you have a mazar, a grave of a wali of Allah, in the Hanafi school it is permissible to have a restroom for the visitors. So for instance, there's a wali buried somewhere and the awqaf, they build a restroom. People come and do ziyarah. This is permitted in the Hanafi school. You can check this. But the early Hanafis, they said placing a cloth on the grave is prohibited. The early Hanafis. Then Al-Imam Ibn Abidin rahimahullah ta'ala said, in our times, he said one cloth is permitted. Why? So the common people do not disrespect the grave of a wali. Because when you go to a graveyard, you see the graves, you will think these are the graves of common people. He said one cloth is permitted. So when someone sees the one cloth, they know under this grave is a pious person. They do not disrespect the grave. And a resting place is permitted. Why? How do we define bid'ah? We look at the fatawa, the verdicts in our madhab, in all four madhabs. And what does Imam Ahmad Ridha Khan rahimahullah ta'ala say? He says extravagance on the graves with placing 2 or 3 or 4 cloths is what prohibited in the Sharia of Allah. Remember, the early Hanafis permitted it, did not permit even 1 cloth. Ibn Abidin permitted it on the basis that people do not disrespect the grave. But later generations have introduced bid'ah and the shrines that they place 2 or 3 or 4, all of this is prohibited in the Sharia of Allah. But today when we go to Indo-Pak, we will observe the ghulu, the exaggeration. For instance, in our region in Dadial, they even have a shrine which is with bells. So you go in, you press a bell. Of course this is from the Hindus. They took this from the Hindus. It's a ritual from the Hindus. Similarly, they have a shrine in Pakistan that when you visit the grave, you take off your trousers and you place the trousers on a washing line and then you leave. And they have one like this for women as well. Now what happens, the intelligent person, he sees this and he thinks this is the Barelvis. He thinks this is the Sufis. He thinks this is the Ahlus Sunnah people. They do this. They permit this. And what do they do then? They go to the opposite extreme, which is Wahhabism. How is Wahhabism the opposite extreme, someone may say? The opposite extreme of Wahhabism is such that what they do is they demolish the entire shrine. They demolish the entire grave. And in some points, what will they do? They will exhume the body. This happened in Libya. So in Libya, the shrines are preserved. But when the Wahhabis, after NATO's support, they removed Gaddafi, some of them, what did they do? They demolished entire shrines and they exhumed some of the bodies of the awliya radiyallahu anhum. So that's the other extreme, because they associate practice with shirk. But in Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama is the middle way. The ummatan wasata, the middle way. That firstly, if there is a salih person buried in a grave, we preserve the grave. It's not permissible to make the grave high. If they build a structure around the grave which is high, it's permitted in order to preserve the grave. But what we do not do is ghulu, exaggeration around the graves. But because Indo-Pak has Hindu culture, what they do is they mix Hindu culture into their visitation of graves. So if you go to Ajmer Sharif today, you will observe Hindu culture in how they practice visiting the shrines. They have Hindu culture. So they have no adab of firstly visiting the graves.